Catalan officials claimed 90% of 2.2 million voters had called for independence in an illegal referendum blighted by violent scenes which left at least 888 people injured. World leaders condemned the brutal scenes after officials revealed that hundreds of protesters have been injured so far. Officers were seen stamping and kicking protesters as they stormed buildings and seized ballot boxes. Footage captured in the village of Sarrià de Ter in the province of Girona showed authorities using an axe to smash down the doors of a polling station where Catalan President Carles Puigdemont was due to cast his vote. He said the region had won the right to become an independent state with the referendum results due in a few days. And in Barcelona, the region's capital, officers fired rubber bullets at thousands of protesters demonstrating against their votes being denied. Boris Johnson condemned the violent clashes but said that the UK saw the vote as unconstitutional. The Foreign Secretary said, "We are obviously worried by any violence, but clearly the referendum, as I understand it, is not constitutional, so a balance needs to be struck. We hope very much that things will calm down." Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn earlier called on Theresa May to intervene with the Spanish government over the police crackdown. Mr. Corbyn condemned the shocking police violence being used as he tweeted, "I urge Theresa May to appeal directly to Rajoy to end police violence in Catalonia and find political solution to this constitutional crisis." Pope Francis also urged Europeans not to fear unity and to put aside nationalistic and other self-interests during a speech in Bologna in Italy. He did not mention the police violence during Catalonia's independence referendum, but in a speech to university students, he recalled that the European Union was born out of the ashes of war to guarantee peace. He warned that conflicts and other interests were now threatening those founding ideals. Francis said, "Don't be afraid of unity. May special interests and nationalism not render the courageous dreams of the founders of the European Union in vain." Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, who has campaigned for independence for Scotland, tweeted, "Some of the scenes in Catalonia are quite shocking and surely unnecessary. Just let people vote." European leaders also voiced their disquiet over the degree of violence used, and called for dialogue between regional and national leaders. Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel tweeted, "Violence can never be the answer. We condemn all forms of violence and reaffirm our call for political dialogue." Spain's Prime Minister claimed the Catalonian referendum had been prevented amid the scenes of violent chaos across the country. Mario Rajoy told a press conference that police had maintained the rule of law by preventing the vote in a crackdown which has drawn condemnation from world leaders. At least 888 people have been hurt in the clashes across Catalonia, the city's mayor said, while Spain's Interior Ministry said at least 11 police officers had been injured. And tens of thousands of fans were banned from attending FC Barcelona's football match with Las Palmas in a protest against the violence. Spain's constitutional court has suspended the referendum and the central government says it is illegal. But regional separatist leaders pledged to hold it anyway and called on the area's 5.3 million eligible voters to show up to cast their ballots. They later said 90% of 2.2 million voters had opted for an independent Catalonia. Mr. Puigdemont condemned the Spanish government's crackdown. He said, "Police brutality will shame forever the Spanish state." But the Spanish Deputy Prime Minister Soraya Sáenz de Santamaría said officers in Catalonia are acting in a proportionate manner. She added that the Catalan government has behaved with absolute irresponsibility by going ahead with the referendum. Shocking footage from Barcelona shows police officers throwing voters down a flight of stairs and stamping on people as they raid a polling station. FC Barcelona condemned the violence on the streets as it announced that its game today would be played behind closed doors. The club has long supported Catalonia's right for a vote on independence, without throwing its weight behind the yes or no camp. It said in a statement, FC Barcelona condemns the events which have taken part in many parts of Catalonia today in order to prevent its citizens exercising their democratic right to free expression. Given the exceptional nature of events, the board of directors have decided that the FC Barcelona first team game against Las Palmas will be played behind closed doors following the Professional Football League's refusal to postpone the game. The club's president Josep Maria Bartomeu said, "It wasn't done for security, the security was guaranteed. We have done it behind closed doors so that everyone can see our opposition at what is happening." It comes after it emerged that Las Palmas players would be wearing Spanish flags on their shirts to show the club's support for a united Spain. A section of Barcelona fans groups had threatened a peaceful pitch invasion to show their disgust at events at the polling stations if the game was not suspended. "It was strange, I didn't like it at all," Barca midfielder Sergio Busquets, a Catalan and World Cup winner with Spain, told Being Sports Spain. "We were aware of what had happened. I think the club evaluated the possibility of not playing, but on a sporting level that penalized us a lot." Despite the closure of the stadium, one fan did make it onto the pitch after Barca's second goal before being quickly hauled off by stewards. This morning in Barcelona, police forcefully removed a few hundred would-be voters from a polling station at a school. Daniel Riano was inside when the police busted in the building's front door. The 54-year-old said, "We were waiting inside to vote when the national police used force to enter. They used a mace to break in the glass door and they took everything. One policeman put me in a headlock to drag me out, while I was holding my wife's hand. It was incredible. They didn't give any warning." Ferran Miralles said a crowd scuffled with police outside as they formed a tight perimeter around the door. Miralles said, "They were very aggressive. They pushed me out of the way." Elsewhere in the city, police arrested several people outside the Treball voting center amid scuffles on the street. Officers dragged some of the protesters away and detained them. The Interior Ministry said that police have closed 79 of about 2,300 polling stations that the Catalan government has authorized to stage the referendum. It added that 3 people had been arrested, including a young girl, for disobedience and assault. Earlier today, Catalan government spokesman Jordi Turull said that voting was underway in 96% of the voting centers. People began arriving before dawn to join parents, children and activists who have been occupying polling stations across the region with the aim of preventing police from shutting them down. "I have got up early because my country needs me," said Eulalia Espinal, a 65-year-old pensioner who started queuing with around 100 others outside one polling station, a Barcelona school, in rain at about 5 a.m. "We don't know what's going to happen, but we have to be here. This is a great opportunity. I've waited 80 years for this," said 92-year-old Raymond Jordana, a former taxi driver waiting to vote in Sant Pere de Torelló, a town in the foothills of the Pyrenees and a pro-independence bastion. He had wrapped his wrists in Catalan flags, among 100 to 150 people who gathered at a local school that had been listed as a polling station, ready to block any police from entering. A tractor also stood guard, though no police had yet arrived. Meanwhile, in Madrid, several hundred people have staged demonstrations in favor of Spanish unity and against the referendum. Some 300 people gathered Sunday in the city's Plaza Mayor Square, waving Spanish red and yellow flags and chanting slogans. Half the crowd then moved to the city's emblematic Sol Square and staged a second rally in front of the regional government's headquarters. The protesters applauded police standing guard outside the building in a show of support for Spain's security forces. Separatist groups told people to hold activities in schools over the weekend to dodge the orders to vacate. Some of the Catalans who are defying the court orders say they want to send a strong message of displeasure with central authorities. Activist Augustigil said there were no ballots or ballot boxes in Barcelona's Joan Fuster High School, where more than 100 people have joined another 100 who spent the night occupying the designated polling station. Joaquim Bosch, a 73-year-old retiree, was at Barcelona's Príncipe de Viana High School, where a crowd of 20 people was growing. He said, "I have come to vote to defend the rights of my country, which is Catalonia." Police have been cracking down for days, confiscating millions of ballots and posters. Tensions have been rising across the country over the planned vote, with thousands marching in Madrid to protest against the separatists' attempt to break up their nation, demanding that Catalan leaders be sent to jail. In Barcelona, the capital of Catalonia, thousands more took to the streets to urge their prosperous region to stay inside Spain. Spain's foreign minister said on Saturday that the Catalan government's plan is anti-democratic and runs counter to the goals and ideals of the European Union. What they are pushing is not democracy. It is a mockery of democracy, a travesty of democracy, Alfonso Dastas said. He said some pro-independence groups are adopting Nazi-like attitudes by pointing at people that are against that referendum and encouraging others to harass them.